Greetings to your viewers of Equinoxe Television, 6 p.m. by studio clock. Thank you so much for joining us on the news hour today. Right away, we begin with our major stories. It is total chaos and disgruntlement among traders of the Mbanga main market. The business persons are complaining of the increase in the monthly cost of rent from 3,000 to 10,000 francs CFA per shop. They are threatening to close down their shops if nothing is done. And over to the southwest region of the country in Mamfe, the Mamfe District Hospital is in total dilapidation. The health facility goes for days without electricity, and the lone generator offered them by Doctors Without Borders is bad. The hospital has no money for repairs. Plus, several families in Cameroon are in tears at the moment. Over 10 Cameroonians have been reported dead on high seas as their boat capsized on their way to the U.S. in search for greener pastures. Viewers, those are our major stories. Stay with us for details and more. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for always according us your time every 6 p.m. for the news in the English language. We begin in the Mongo division of the littoral region, where traders of the main market in Mbanga have threatened to shut down their business places or their shops if the council doesn't regularize their monthly rent, which has risen from 3,000 to 10,000 francs CFA per month. The traders aired their grievances during a strike action that took place at the main market in Mbanga recently. The mayor for the Mbanga municipality, Ndale Henriette, who's been blamed, told Equinoxe Television reporters that she's acting on the new finance law. Let's now have more with Smart Jikan Gabriel.
Traders of the Mbanga main market are angry.
They have upped our rent. We were paying 3,000 francs. Now they are asking of 10,000 francs. And they have not changed anything. We are the one arranging it. Even my own store, rain is falling inside. And we are the one arranging it. They have not changed anything, but they have had the money. So we are not happy. Because even the 3,000 francs that we were paying, some people were unable to pay that 3,000 francs. There are people that they always come and lock before they rush and move cassava and sell before they come and pay.
The traders say the 7,000 francs CFA added by the new order from the mayor is too much for them to pay us rent, because they don't even make profit out of what they are selling.
We will come like this, we will spend the whole day in the market without selling anything. I, for one, I will stand up in the morning and make sure that I fry small rice and put it in my bag, because I will make a week without selling even one dress. And they asked me to pay 10,000 is much, because even the 10,000 that they were asking us, we are unable to pay the 3,000. Now they have asked 7,000. We were unable to pay 3,000. How are we going to pay 10,000 now? It means they want us to go back home and stay in the house.
The new stores constructed by the Mbanga Council, which have been described as VIP stores, are still not occupied.
We can say they are VIPs, but people are not inside because the money is too much. You cannot be paying, you will not enter a store that you will not be able to pay the money, because the business we are doing, things are not moving in Mbanga. At first, train was passing, banana was functioning, any brasseries, all have gone. So even the train is no more passing because of this crisis. We are actually feeling bad here. We are not selling. You can make a week here without selling 10,000.
The mayor of Mbanga, Ndale Henriette, says she wasn't the one who made the prices, and every act she takes is in consultation with her councillors. It's not a personal decision of the mayor. I don't take decisions without consulting with the councillors. The finance law laid down the prices of each square meter occupied by any person. Anyone who has a store corresponding to any square meter pays the amount attached to it. So, it is not the mayor who invented the prices. The traders of the Mbanga main market are now begging that council officials should review the new prices that they recently published.
We are begging our mayor in Mbanga that she should look a bit the price, because we're paying the ground rent 3,000. So 3,000 to 10,000 is much, and we don't have no activities. Nothing is working. Maybe she can reduce the price. So we are not even insist that we should pay the 10,000. Let her look again the price.
Many of the traders are now hoping that their cry will be heard by the mayor of Mbanga and Dale Henriette.
And now we talk about the dilapidated nature of the health district in Mamfe. Dr. Fotabo Anu Boniface, director of the Mamfe Integrated Health Center, says the hospital is still limping despite the assistance it has received from different stakeholders and elites. According to him, the health facility lacks modern structures, space, sufficient medical staff, and adequate equipment to accord satisfactory services to the local population. Innocent Aze has more.
From the physical look, no one will quickly notice this is a health facility. It is the Mamfe Integrated Health Center with dilapidated German structures.
This facility is inherited from the very first hospital in Mamfe town in the days of the Germans and later on West Cameroon government. Those are very old buildings. Some of them are not really, they have gone, but I believe they are used. But having said that, we're still using them given the context in which we find ourselves.
Limited space and structures make it difficult to attend to the influx of patients who visit the hospital.
This is the main public hospitals in town. If a woman delivers, they may have to stay just about a day or two and they are sent home, except for surgical cases that may have to stay a bit longer.
Apart from this, the medic also underlines limited medical staff as another limitation of the health facility. He implores for helping hand from Yaoundé.
There are three of them. Dr. Motika, she's just gave birth. Dr. Tiku and Dr. Taku. They have been helping us, doing a wonderful job ever since the hospital was burned down. They have not been recruited, but they are doing a wonderful job. Our main appeal is to the government is to send off more staff.
Dr. Fotabo Anu Boniface, the district medical officer who doubles as director of the Mamfe Integrated Health Center, reveals that some offered equipment and the generator given them by Doctors Without Borders is bad, pending maintenance, adversely affecting their activities.
The Manu women in America, they gave us a huge consignment of maternity equipment and incubators. But those incubators are still lying there because according to them, they said the supplier was supposed to send a technician who was supposed to come and install those incubators. But because of the crisis, the technicians from Dollar have not been able to come and install those incubators, and they're still there.
Despite the challenges the Mamfe Integrated Health Center is facing, Dr. Fotabo appraises efforts of government, sons and daughters of Mamfe, Doctors Without Borders, and other organizations to modernize and expand the hospital to effectively render services to the population.
In other news, the Douala Ports Authority is now striving to update its old, dilapidated and outdated infrastructure that has been overused for several years now and even decades. It has been adversely affecting the business and the economy of Cameroon and even the Central African sub-region as a whole. One of such infrastructure is the quay at the Wood Terminal. It has been completely reconstructed, as Babila Jonathan tells us in the report which comes up next.
For years, external trade activities at the Wood Terminal of the Douala Bonaberi Seaport were slowed down by the dilapidated and limited capacity of the quay. The quay is a platform lying alongside or projected into water for loading and unloading of ships. The old one was at the verge of provoking an abrupt end to import and export activities through this terminal of the Douala Bonaberi port. A technical examination of the quay done in 2016, 2017 and 2018 revealed that it was almost ruined and had to be reconstructed urgently to avoid an abrupt end to the exportation of wood. The problem cost the sea transport facility and the state of Cameroon enormous loss in income and competitiveness.
Look at the park. The park, you have enough timber on the park. You know, a port is competitive if you can receive goods and export it quickly, or receive goods from coming abroad and send it quickly to the consumption in the town.
Thus, the construction of a multipurpose quay worth more than 10 billion francs CFA, officially opened by Transport Minister Massinangale Bibehe Wednesday, the new quay is longer than the old one.
If the quay, since it was 150, today it is 220, that means the length it is enough. So we can welcome many barges, and you can transfer timber quickly compared to previous quay. You have two times the volume of wood transferred than old days.
This is part of efforts to modernize and raise port infrastructures to international standards in view of making the Douala Bonaberi port a reference in the Gulf of Guinea.
Now we come back to this report on innovation and creativity. It is that of 30-year-old Daryl Tioge, who has put together a vehicle or a car that doesn't use fuel, breath, electricity. He says it will go a long way also at protecting the ecosystem. Let's now have more about that innovation with Malaglory.
This electric three-wheel vehicle, painted with colors signifying human spirit, is the creativity of a young Cameroonian in Douala. This innovative piece, according to 29-year-old Darren Gano, took him several years. It took me 2 years of training, 1 year of preparations with my team, and an extra 2 months to be able to come out with this project. At the level of mounting, we had different professionals of each domain, like a welder and an electrician. Since the project was prepared ahead of time, a 3D editing software was available in the machine where each technician could easily identify what to do.
Exactement.
A complete and well-secured vehicle with double seat belt and comfortable chairs. An engine of 15 kilowatts supported by a battery of 10 kilowatts. This vehicle of about 500 kilograms can cover a distance of 100 kilometers, and it is 10 times cheaper than a vehicle consuming fuel. If 1 kilowatt is 600 francs in Cameroon, 10 kilowatt will cost 600 francs. So 600 francs will cover 100 kilometers compared to a vehicle consuming fuel which needs 10 liters to cover 100 kilometers, and the cost of a liter costs 700 francs. Therefore, a conventional vehicle will need 7,000 francs to cover same distance. The future looks promising for the young inventor Darren Gano, who has other interesting projects in the pipeline. In the same logic, one can use the same system in building a vehicle for transporting goods and persons. The car will be entirely electric with additional electric panels on the cabin. The car can be used for a distance of over 100 kilometers. To him, these projects can only be realized if the government assists his team financially. For now, the team relies only on family members and money borrowed from cooperatives.
Some controversies already on the innovation of Darren Gano Tioge. We will be talking with him in the second part of the news. And now over to the far north region of the country, where locals of some villages in the Diamare division say the absence of traditional rulers has brought more harm than good to their various localities. They say since the death of their traditional rulers, conflicts have been on the rise. Let's now have more on the situation on the ground with Immaculate Fogwe.
Addressing land conflicts between farmers and breeders in some villages in the Diamare division, far north region, is a major preoccupation of administrative authorities. Villages like Damba, Bangalaf and Tankiru have been badly affected by such conflicts. Locals blame the situation on the absence of traditional rulers. Aware of the challenges faced by the population, the senior divisional officer for the Diamare division consulted with notables of the villages. Due to the death of traditional rulers of Dambai, Bangalav and Tankiru, their posts have been vacant. Whenever inhabitants are having problems, there is no mediator. I believe the presence of these leaders will end the conflict between farmers and breeders. The newly installed traditional ruler of Bangalav, Abbasi Daru, says one of his major objectives is to fight the practice of sending young girls into marriage at very tender ages. Lots of teenagers are sent to early marriages. Due to this, they are forced to drop out of school. So, I will help sensitize these parents on the benefits of sending their children to school. The population have expressed a sigh of relief while urging their traditional rulers to work for the good of the population and not for their personal interests.
And now we come back to the defeat of the Lions. The chances of the Indomitable Lions qualifying for the Africa Cup of Nations still remain complicated after the defeat against Namibia. That was 2 days ago. Sports journalist Josh Mbimbe is calling on the better preparation before the last game that will be coming up, that will be in the month of June. Smart Jikan Gabriel Sama on that beat.
The Indomitable Lions had a golden opportunity to have a direct qualification for the Africa Cup of Nations on Tuesday, but let the chance go by losing to the Brave Warriors 1-2. Josh Mbimbe, a sports journalist, say all hopes are not lost. We still have the chances of qualifying for the AFCON as we still have a game in hand to play. As we talk, we are second in our group. The sports journalist, however, confirmed that the last match might be a very tricky one for the Indomitable Lions. To qualify is going to be a difficult task because we have given hopes to Namibia and Burundi. We have one game left, but we struggled against Namibia in Yaoundé. We have to work hard against Burundi.
Donc ça peut être compliqué. Je pense qu'il va falloir bien travailler pour préparer le match qui nous reste à jouer contre le Burundi.
But for the Lions to put up a better performance, George Bimbe gives this advice to the team. We should not commit the same errors that we observed during the preparation of the game against Namibia, because we didn't even prepare for that encounter. We just joked over it in the name of preparing for the match, and that was the cause for our poor outing. It's going to be difficult though, because if Burundi has a good record against Namibia, they will have hopes when coming to Cameroon.
Va rendre la situation beaucoup plus complexe.
6 nations, amongst them defending champions Senegal, Morocco, Algeria, Burkina Faso, South Africa and Tunisia have already sealed their tickets for the Africa Cup of Nations, Ivory Coast 2023.
Viewers, before we move on to the second part of the news, we take these elements out of Cameroon. A court in Senegal has given a 2-month sentence to opposition leader Ousmane Sonko. The court in the capital city of Dakar has found him guilty of defaming the Minister for Tourism. While in Antigua, we told you in the headlines, 14 Cameroonian migrants have been rescued, 3 confirmed dead, and 16 others are still missing after a boat capsized in the Eastern Caribbean water. They were on their way to the U.S. for greener pastures. Let's now have more with Mara Glory.
Prominent opposition leader Ousmane Sonko is scheduled to face charges of libel in Dakar court this Thursday. If found guilty, the political leader could be barred from running in the 2024 presidential elections. Originally set for March 16, the hearing was postponed to March 30th after the state security forces forcibly removed Sonko from his vehicle and escorted him to court on the day of the hearing. Shortly after, clashes erupted between police forces and Sonko's supporters. Sonko said he inhaled a harmful substance during the dispute which impaired his eyesight and breathing, claiming the dispute amounted to an assassination attempt. The incident has escalated tensions in Senegal as the country braces for potential unrest ahead of Sonko's court hearing this Thursday. Osenu Fall, one of Sonko's lawyers, was suspended by the Senegalese Bar Association on Wednesday after a complaint by a case judge and will be unable to appear in court. This comes after Sonko was accused by Senegalese tourism minister Mame Mbaye Niang of stealing 29 billion francs CFA from the government agency. And over to Antigua. At least 14 Cameroonians were rescued in the Eastern Caribbean waters early Tuesday after their boat capsized. 3 people died and 13 others are still missing. The group left Antigua early Tuesday on board 32 passengers that was apparently on the way to the U.S. Virgin Islands when it sank near the island of St. Kitts and Nevis. Cameroon has been rocked by conflict since English-speaking separatists in the Central African country launched a rebellion in 2017. More than 3,300 people have died in the conflict, which has displaced more than 750,000 others, according to the United Nations.
Thank you, Glory, for that report, and it brings us to the end of the first part of the news. Viewers, don't go away. Talking Points comes up next. Welcome back, viewers. Our guest tonight is Daryl Tioge. He is an electrotechnical engineer. We are talking about innovation. We are talking about creativity. Daryl, thank you so much for accepting to be our guest tonight. You are the inventor, let me put it that way, of the car, that's to the best of our knowledge, of the car that uses electricity and not fuel, which means it can be charged and recharged and be used again and again. Thank you again for accepting to be our guest tonight on Talking Points. Now, can you tell us what your invention or your creativity is all about?
Good evening, Annabella. I'm honored to be on your program. It's no news today that the automobile industry has been in the search for new energy sources based on the different challenges faced with the thermite engine or the internal combustion engine, such as emissions and consumption and everything associated to fossil burning. So for that, there are some suggestions in the automobile industry, like the electric engine and the hydrogen engine. So my vehicle is based on one of these, which is the electric engine, which responds to our demands here in Africa: lesser emission, lesser consumption, and a perfect balance with the living standards in Africa.
And now, Daryl, we know that you're from the West region. You schooled and grew up in the Southwest region, and also you did your higher education studies that was in Europe. Can you tell us, from where did your inspiration come?
Okay, I must say it started right away in 2019 during the corona pandemic, where I had this initiative to create like little electric vehicles, which I posted on my YouTube channel, TG Daryl, on my YouTube channel. And from there I had some positive feedback, some words of encouragement, who pushed me forward to undergo some certificate programs in hybrid and electric vehicles. Then in 2022 I took it upon myself to build an electric vehicle prototype in Cameroon, and for that I had the team with whom we were working online and another team with whom I was working like physically, you and I, till ending 2022, where I had to start with the project. So basically, I'm going to say it took me 3 years for this project, from the idea to till finish. But the actual construction took us 3 months with all the challenges.
Now, talking about challenges, we are going to come how you did from conception to realization. But now you just mentioned challenges there. Can you tell us what are some of the major challenges you actually came in contact with that was from the beginning to when the project actually came to an end? Though it's not complete because you say you still have some steps further. Tell us from when you started it to where you are now, what are some of those challenges you faced?
Okay, some of the challenges we faced first and foremost were financial challenges, because to build a prototype like this, it demands a lot of money. You have tests, build, analyze, cut off, and redo again and again till you have something a little bit more concrete. And the second challenges were the machines, because in every industry you deal with machines which do the cutting and molding, so we had to work locally with the equipments on hand. Then we also had the next challenges too, were the inavailability of the accurate materials required for that, so we just had to do with what we had.
And now a little more detailedly, Daryl, explain to us now, how did you do it from conception, from when you got the initiative, from when you began putting together the various parts, and to when you got to your final product? Can you explain to us?
Okay, the idea, putting together this idea was not that easy, because first it all starts with an idea, like you say, but an idea remains only an idea till we try to bring it to life. And for that, you are building something a little bit more complex, where there are different sectors involved, like mechanical engineering, electrotechnical engineering, welding, and so on and so forth. So I had to meet up with friends which share the same passion like me, try to team up, try to work together, and gradually we started by analyzing what exactly do we want to solve in our community, which problem are we attacking in our community. Then secondly, what are the approaches, how can we go about that, and thirdly, what do we have at hand. So when you have all these questions answered, then you come up with a little electric vehicle which is perfect or suits enough urban transportation or intercity transportation, and which consumes moderately, or if I could say which consumes, in comparison to the internal combustion engines, consume absolutely nothing.
Good reflection there, Daryl. You have been repeating this word, internal combustion engines. Can you explain to us, maybe you're talking about conventional vehicles, explain to our viewers what it means.
Okay, the internal combustion engine is the normal conventional vehicle you have on the street, which consumes petrol or diesel. That's the internal combustion engine. And aside from that, we have today electric vehicles and hydrogen vehicles. In Europe and America and other developed countries, where electric vehicles, I think also some countries in Africa have been adopting this new technology. So it's definitely nothing new to the world, but certainly something new to my community, which we intend to carry forward in order to solve as many problems as possible.
And now, Daryl, let's talk money. What about the cost? Is it going to cost less or more than the number of vehicles we have in the streets of Africa, Cameroon, and Douala?
Definitely. It's not a matter of me seeing them. it has already been replacing because it answers so many queries or so many inconveniences we have with the internal combustion engine. Let's take, for example, the efficiency. With the internal combustion engine, you are driving a 2-ton vehicle which consumes averagely 10 gallons or 10 liters per 100 kilometer. And taking also into consideration the price of the price per liter which we are having today in our community, you find out that we are consuming averagely 7,000 per 100 kilometer. And in comparison to the electric vehicle, where, for example, the prototype we made has an autonomy of 10 kilowatt hour battery, and with that you can have a drive range of about 100 kilometers, and the price unit per kilowatt hour in Cameroon, it's about 60 to 70 francs per kilowatt hour. That's 600 francs per 100 kilometer range. So you see the difference in prices, where I have, on the other hand, 600 francs CFA with the electric vehicle per 100 kilometer range, and on the other hand, with the internal combustion engine, I have 7,000 per 100 kilometer range. Not only that, you also have the emissions, pollutions, and everything associated to the internal combustion engine, noise, heat, and the gas, the gas given out at the exhaust, which is absolutely not involved with the electric vehicle. It's silence, has no exhaust for whatsoever, and more to that, you have very less maintenance cost.
Okay, Daryl, we will sure come back to cost, how much the car can cost, and why, if it's going to cost less or more. Now let's talk about, you were just responding there on how, if you see that it can replace conventional vehicles in the streets, do you think what your creation can replace conventional vehicles in the streets? Then after, we're going to come to the controversy, whether it's a novelty or not, and what you think. Do you think what you're doing can, in a long or short term, replace the conventional vehicles which we have already?
Thank you very much, Nabila. For that question to be answered, we will have to take some certain things into we'll have to take some certain things into consideration. For example, the internal combustion engine, it has just a tank where you fill in your diesel or petrol and reuse it. But here we have lithium batteries, which are the storage units for the energy required by the motor to produce the rotation at the wheels. So here you have, on the other hand, you have on one side just a simple tank, but on the other hand, with electric vehicles, you have a very complex unit. Batteries with battery management system to regulate the energy flow in your batteries so that you have a better healthy battery. So when you take into consideration these things, definitely we are going to have an electric vehicle which is slightly costly than the internal combustion engine. But here's the advantage. On the other hand, with the electric vehicle, you have almost no maintenance at the motor level. There is no motor for the oil. There's no oil required at the motor for the engine to be cooled or to be greased, because in the internal combustion engine we have several thousands of parts rubbing against each other, and we all know when we have parts rubbing against each other, friction is involved. So for the internal combustion engine, you need oil to lubricate the movement between these parts. But on the other hand, with electric motor, it's not involved. So that alone, it's an advantage where you have very little to spend on the maintenance. Now with the previous comparison I gave at the consumption level, you see that in the space of no time, 2 years at most, 2-3 years at most, we catch up with the price difference. So yes, the electric vehicles are slightly costly than the internal combustion vehicles upfront, but on the long run, the internal combustion engine outweighs the electric vehicles when it comes to expense.
And now there is this controversy which is already circulating that your creation is no novelty, that electric vehicles already existed. What can you say about that?
Okay, let's be clear on this fact. It's nothing new today. The electric vehicles have been around for more than a decade now. So it's no new invention, and that's not what we are asking for from our youths. Nothing new, but something which respects our society demands. So definitely the electric vehicle is nothing new. They have been around for more than 10 years, I would say, and they are still working upon for different alternatives. So in that regard, it's nothing new. Like, let's say for example, we all agreed upon that Christopher Columbus discovered America, with people already living there. It has never been an issue to anyone. Now I'm just trying to bring back to Africa some certain technologies I find interesting, which will be beneficiary for our community, which at least takes into consideration our living standard in Africa. So yes, it's no invention, but it's just me bringing back home some technologies which I think will be beneficiary to us.
Thank you so much for responding to that question, which was already getting out of hand somehow among in public opinion out there. And now, Daryl, my last but one question. We might want to know about your educational background. Where did you acquire all the skills, the knowledge? Was it in school, or tell us?
I've been drawing since from childhood, and growing up in a family with a father who is an engineer, who not only was an engineer, was also someone very creative, which I worked beside with passion and learned so much skills from him. So I developed these skills since from childhood and pursued my studies in electrotechnical engineering. So I'm an electrotechnical engineer, and later on had to do another master certificates program in hybrid and electric vehicles, so that I get a better grasping of this technology, what it's all about, and how it can be implemented.
My last question: what way forward in your creation or in your innovation? What can you say before we go, Dario?
Okay, I'm very grateful for the reaction so far. I'm very thankful to all those who saw it as a good start point for Africa. What I'm trying to do is not to, or what we should focus on is not to create something absolutely new. It's going to come with time. But what we should be focused on is creating a platform where our young, talented African fellow brothers, friends, or even elderly people, where we can start up to build up our nation. Because there is nothing like building up Africa without touching the technological aspect. So I'm just trying to put up a platform together where we can go on from there.
Thank you so much, Daryl Tioge, for accepting to be our guest on Talking Point. Just to remind our viewers that you are the manufacturer, the most recent manufacturer of the vehicle that uses electricity and not fuel, and can be very important at protecting or preserving the ecosystem. Thank you again for accepting to be our guest tonight. And viewers, we thank you so much for always being with us. Don't go away, our programs continue. The news in the French language comes up at 8 p.m. Stay with us on Equinoxe Television. Bye-bye for now.